family, gather around, take a seat, grab a cup of tea or whatever keeps your spirit calm, because what we're diving into tonight, this one is going to rattle the palace windows from Buckingham to Balmoral. This is one of those episodes where we don't rush, we don't skim, we don't tiptoe. We walk straight in, front door open, chin up, fully ready to break down how Prince Harry and Duchess Meghan have altered the royal family in a way that the institution will never recover from. Let's start from the beginning some. Not the fairy tale version the British tabloids like to script, not the manufactured Sussex's ruined everything propaganda, but the real version. The truth. Because the truth is far more powerful than any palace PR memo. You see, before Harry and Meghan even stepped back from royal duties, the seeds of the Sussex effect were already planted. Every time Meghan stepped out, the world watched. Every time Harry spoke, the public listened. When they worked together, the entire global stage shifted. Suddenly you had a royal couple who weren't just showing up to cut ribbons and wave at crowds. They were showing up with purpose, intellect, compassion, and innovation. They weren't content being figureheads. They were leaders, they were thinkers, they were catalysts, and the palace didn't know what to do with that. Imagine being an institution so used to stability, tradition, hierarchy, only to realize that two people within your system had a reach, influence, and emotional connection with the public that outmatched the entire royal establishment. That was the beginning of the tremor, the beginning of the shift. Because the Sussexes weren't just popular, they were impactful, and that impact terrified people who depended on the old way of doing things. Let's talk about Meghan, because this woman walked in and immediately changed the royal game. Not with noise, not with rebellion, but with elegance dripping in intellect. Before she even married into the family, she was already a humanitarian, already a public speaker, already experienced in advocacy, already a global figure in her own right. She wasn't waiting for royal approval to matter. She already mattered. And that alone disrupted the system, because the royal family wasn't used to someone joining the institution who came with their own fully formed identity and global platform. Harry, too, was evolving, becoming the man he was always meant to be. Not the spare, not the backup, not the punchline of the tabloids, but a man stepping into his full voice, his purpose, his authenticity. Meghan didn't make Harry a better man. She gave Harry the space to be the best version of himself. When they united, the monarchy felt the impact immediately. Every project they touched turned into a movement. Every appearance became international news. Every message carried weight. They were the future. They were the modern brand the monarchy desperately needed but was too stubborn to embrace. Then came the panic. Behind palace doors, suddenly staffers were whispering about too much popularity. Advisors were scrambling. Senior members were feeling overshadowed. Royal reporters, who lean on access, control and manipulation, realized that this couple could generate more headlines in one day than the rest of the family could in a month. That's when the smear campaigns began. That's when the leaks began. That's when the tabloids started their obsession with Meghan, the obsession they still haven't recovered from. Because here's the truth the palace doesn't want to hear. Meghan wasn't the problem. Meghan was the mirror. And what she reflected back to them, the outdated systems, the unspoken biases, the rigid traditions, the internal competition, they couldn't handle it. When Harry and Meghan stepped back in 2020, the world didn't react with confusion. The world reacted with understanding. People saw clearly what the institution had refused to acknowledge. And suddenly, The royal system was exposed for what it really was, an outdated framework trying to compete in a modern world. And honey, the Sussexes left with their heads high, and the monarchy has been trying to recreate the magic ever since. Look at what happened next. Harry and Meghan build Archewell, a foundation that moves faster, responds quicker, and impacts communities more deeply than royal patronages that sit stagnant for decades. They partner with Netflix, and within months create documentaries that break global records and spark cultural conversation. They work with Spotify, with global organizations, with humanitarian partners, and every project carries their fingerprints: compassion, clarity, courage. And while they keep rising, the palace keeps scrambling. Suddenly, Charles makes his speeches sound more emotional. William suddenly starts referencing mental health again. Kate's team pushes new projects to appear modern. The palace begins copying the Sussex playbook, without giving credit, of course, but the public sees it. The public notices the new tone, the new urgency, the new attempt at relevance. Because Harry and Meghan set the bar so high that the monarchy for the first time in decades is being forced to catch up. But here's where the Sussex effect becomes undeniable. The couple became bigger after leaving the monarchy than they ever were inside it. Think about that. The royal family has centuries of tradition, billions in assets, and the entire British press at their disposal. But two people who walked away with nothing but their integrity and their work ethic managed to redefine royalty on a global scale. The global news cycle proves it daily. Even when Harry and Meghan are silent, the tabloids can't shut up. Even when the couple is minding their business in California, royal reporters have them trending in the UK. Even when they haven't released a project in months, their names outrank senior royals in searches, engagement and conversation. You cannot buy that kind of influence. You cannot manufacture that kind of presence. It's organic, it's earned, it's real, and the palace knows it. This is why we're seeing the institution suddenly pushing younger royals, suddenly leaning on Beatrice and Eugenie, suddenly hinting at generational transition. Because the Meghan and Harry era exposed a horrifying truth for the monarchy. If they don't modernise aggressively, the public will move on, and already has in many ways. Harry's resilience, Meghan's brilliance, their love, their unity, their philanthropy, all of it has shown the world what modern royalty should look like. Not stiff, not silent, not performative, but compassionate, empowered, global, connected and impactful. Let's talk about how the Sussexes completely changed the royal narrative of service. The monarchy has always claimed to represent service. But it was Harry and Meghan who showed what service actually looks like. They didn't need royal funding. They didn't need palace approval. Their service didn't depend on a title, a ribbon, or a photo op. Their work stands on its own merit, and that is why the palace feels threatened. Because how do you compete with authenticity when your entire system revolves around image? Harry's dedication to mental health, to veterans, to equality, Meghan's advocacy for women, for communities, for humanitarian causes. Their combined work is so substantial that even global institutions honour them. Meanwhile, the British tabloids spend every waking second trying to convince the public that the couple they write about non-stop is irrelevant. The math is not mathing. The Sussexes are also redefining what royal independence truly means. They walked away from taxpayer money. They walked away from the titles as a source of power. They walked away from the constraints. And the palace still can't believe they survived, let alone thrived. Because no royal in modern history has dared to leave the institution and rise higher. But Harry and Meghan did. And that's why the monarchy will never be the same again. The Sussex effect is everywhere. It's in the palace's sudden attempt to appeal to younger crowds. It's in their desperate push for digital relevance. It's in the subtle changes to how the palace communicates, the tone of their statements, the nature of their engagements. It's in the increased scrutiny on royal finances. It's in the public's shifting loyalties. It's in the international community's growing preference for Harry and Meghan over senior royals. The Sussex effect is not a headline. It's a transformation. And now let's talk about the future, because this next chapter is even bigger. Harry and Meghan are entering a new era where their work is expanding, their influence is deepening, and their platform is becoming even more powerful. Meghan's creative projects are about to shift cultural conversations again. Harry's global leadership continues to inspire communities worldwide. Their joint ventures will only grow stronger. The monarchy will have to adapt or fall behind, because history is already being written. And the Sussexes are the protagonists of the modern royal story. They didn't just leave the monarchy, they evolved beyond it. They didn't just represent change, they embodied it. And they didn't just protect their peace. They created a blueprint for future generations of royals who will one day realize that tradition alone cannot sustain an institution. So family, as we close out this deep dive, let's take a moment to appreciate what Harry and Meghan have done. Not just for themselves, not just for their children, but for every person watching who has ever been told to stay silent, to stay small, to stay in their place. They walked away from a crown to protect their souls. And in doing so, they shook an empire. If you enjoyed this breakdown, don't forget to subscribe to the Royal Sussex Squad, where we keep it real, keep it factual, and keep it in the spirit of love for Harry and Meghan. And if you want to support the channel, you can drop a super thanks. It means the world and helps keep these deep dives coming. Until next time, family, stay safe, stay blessed, and stay proud of the Sussexes.